Welcome back. I have Carlos Rojas here, who's our Director of Security. Thank you for joining us. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. And you know, things are obviously different now, and so we really wanted you to come in and tell us, you know, what are some of the things that are going on with security here locally? There have been a couple of concerns, so we'll get to those. But overall, let's just have a good overview of what security is like in Laguna Woods Village.
Sure. Well, as you know, I've been here since February, and the public health crisis was something a little different that no one expected to deal with. But, you know, overall safety is very high in Laguna Woods Village. And one of the things that I've been observing from the time I've been here was the different security procedures and protocols we have in place. And of course, I'm looking at see where we can improve in areas that may be challenging. However, overall, I'm very impressed with the level of security and safety here in the village.
Yeah, and you know, Tim Moy was he was a great guy, and he had a lot of experience, which you also have had that kind of experience.
I was actually with the Santa Ana Police Department for 28 years, and then for another couple years up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
That's right, with the BART system.
Correct. And so I've seen the highs and the lows and the criminal activity come and go in both an urban setting, a transit setting. And so it is very refreshing to be here in the village and really see some of the safety measures that have taken place over time. And you know, Mr. Moy did an excellent job here, of course.
Well, that is awesome. So it's nice to have something already in place that you could just expand upon. So that's really
Absolutely.
Great. There was an article that came out, and gosh, you know, the Sheriff's Department is trying to do a pretty good job of maintaining I think the rhetoric around it. But then you've got ABC7 and a variety of other news channels that are just blowing these pictures out of control. So inmates are being released early. And when we did interview the sheriff not too long ago, he was talking about that. And we're talking about the kind of people that they're releasing. But then you have some of these other news stations that I think are just scaring a lot of people. Can you kind of elaborate on sort of what is going on at that end?
Sure. There have been some releases of lower level inmates. And that's something that has been done due to this public health crisis.
Right.
We haven't seen that impact in the village, and people are being released at all times, whether there's a public health crisis or not. Of course, it's got more attention due to what's been going on in the various communities, and it's always of concern when people are released. But I think it's also very dangerous to really blow up and make this a bigger deal than it is. At this point, we haven't seen any of that concern play itself out here in the village.
Well, that's good, because I think people got a little concerned when they started to see some of those photographs of people, and then they're thinking, oh my gosh, are they going to be here in our community at no time? You know.
Absolutely.
Now we've had a couple little things happen in the area, so maybe you can talk to us a little about some of those incidents.
Sure. One of the things that we did have, we had some auto thefts.
Right.
And that was definitely an anomaly here within the village. So it does, you know, auto thefts do happen in various communities throughout the county, but that it is pretty rare here in the village. And we had 3 of them in a very short period of time. And in working with the Sheriff's Department, what we found out was that the vehicles were either left unsecured, or the windows were partially down, and more importantly, keys were left inside those vehicles.
Oh boy.
So in the public safety world, there's a saying that says, opportunity makes the thief. And unfortunately, in these situations, I think we did have individuals that shouldn't have been in our community, whether they were relatives of somebody living in the village or came in from the outside, and they were burglarizing these vehicles, trying to get something of value, and then I believe that they found the keys and they took the cars.
Yeah.
And on the positive side, we were able to recover a couple of those cars here in Orange County, and those were returned to the owners. You
know, those key fobs, I think, are super easy to just leave, because you just get out of your car and you forget it. You don't have to lock your car. And that's, I would imagine that's probably contributing to that.
Absolutely. You know, the key fobs, you could leave them in the car, and then many of the newer vehicles do have the push to start, and folks could just drive away. So we really encourage people to take their keys with them, and then make sure to not have anything of value within sight.
Okay, good. That's really good to know. Okay, so increased village patrols. What are some things you're doing there?
Yeah, so we looked at these incidents because, of course, anytime you have a couple auto thefts in a short period of time, it's of concern. So we're working closely with the Sheriff's Department, and they have increased their vehicle patrols within the village.
Okay.
And then as far as our security staff, we've also increased our vehicle patrols, but we're also doing foot patrols.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things that we were able to realize during this incident, during these incidents, which happened at a time of darkness, is our security officers didn't have capability, night vision capability, so they can better see at night. So we are looking into buying some equipment for our security officers that will enable them to see at night, because in one of the instances we did see trespassers come on site, and unfortunately we weren't able to locate them, and the night vision will help us in the future.
So when you say night vision, I mean, of course, I'm thinking military night vision, you know, those little things that come down and look. So what are you talking about?
Night vision is very common, of course, in the military and in law enforcement.
Okay.
And it's just really the ability for the person who's operating either what's called a monocular or a binocular, and it allows it to sense heat or ambient light,
Gotcha.
which it helps you in identifying somebody that may be hiding in the shadows.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Let's see. You said increased, okay, so increased foot patrol and vehicle patrols. That's good. And then nighttime surveillance. That's great. Now, one thing I think we've talked a lot about when you were not here is we talked about the see something, say something. And that obviously is obvious in the situation that we're talking about now. But what other incidents should people be looking out for when it is important for them to say something?
Well, I think it's very important that if our folks see some suspicious activity in the community, that they call. And it may not be a crime in and of itself, but if it's something that they find suspicious and intuitively something doesn't sit right with them, please give our security folks a chance to go out there, talk to whoever they're seeing out there and see if they belong in our community.
Okay.
So I think it's very important for folks to be proactive and be aware of their surroundings.
Well, and then also, given the nature of this situation here with COVID-19 and people who might be at home and need help, if there is something that's a security related, they should call the number for security, that just to give their neighbor a helping hand type of thing. Is that all right too?
Absolutely. The more
Okay.
communication we have, the better off we are in terms of prevention, and then preventing any future activity here in the village.
Okay, great. Now, a lot of things are starting to reopen here in our communities, and we're starting to kind of transition back to what we thought it was going to be like, but it may not be the same as what we thought it was. So transitioning our gate ambassadors and people who were advised to stay at home, how is that going to happen, and when do you think that might happen?
Of course, we're going to be, as an executive team, be in discussions on how we phase folks back into work.
Okay.
And early on, we had about 30% of our gate ambassadors who are all residents who decided not to work, and they really wanted to take care of their health, and they were concerned about that, and we of course respected that, and we're looking forward to having them back, and they're a very vital part of our organization. And then of course in the meantime we've had other VMS staff that has worked the gates, and that's helped fill the gap.
Right, okay. And so do we have a time frame yet or not?
At this point, we don't have a time frame, and then of course we're closely monitoring the guidelines by the county, state, and federal government, of course.
Okay, good. Anything else?
I think that's it, and I think our residents just need to make sure that if they see something, to say something, and we want to continue to have a very safe community here in the village.
Thank you. It was really nice to have you on, and
Thank you.
We're gonna make you have a regular spot here at some point, but we just can't quite figure out how to make that happen yet. So
Okay.
soon enough, you were only the second guest that we've had live behind Jeff Parker. So
All right.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And remember, if you have any issues with security or things that don't look right, make sure that you contact our security department at 580-1400. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some card games that you can play online. We'll be right back.